had my first psychic awakening in 2009. It was November, and my mom had invited me to come to a dowsing class with my sister at her house, at my mom's house. And my mom and had already done this course and thought it was really interesting and wanted me to try it out. So I went to her house and I took a pendulum. I don't know what pendulum I took. It might have even been this one actually. This one right here. This might have been my first one. I'm not sure. I don't remember, but I took a pendulum and I already was kind of following my intuition. I already had been on a journey of trying to uncover what psychic abilities were here for me and my mess connection with spirit. I had already had psychic predictions or premonitions over the years that I was investigating or curious about. I'd already been working on that path. But for today, I want to talk about this specific period of time around November of 2009. And so I had already, like I said, been tiptoeing around it, been investigating, been wondering about it. And then this event, it could have been anything, but it happened to be the dowsing course that kind of burst the door open for me. And so I was doing the dowsing class as soon as I picked up the pendulum and started connecting and working with this teacher on how to do this work. I was, it was insane. It was immediate. It was sudden. It was like they'd been waiting for me and I showed up and they were so ready. Spirit was ready to communicate and I burst the doors open. It was very intense. It was very overwhelming and I didn't have a lot of support. The person who had taught me was a great teacher. And they did eventually come to my house because what happened was I then opened up like an insane portal in my house. The teacher who came, he then came to my house to help clear my house. His girlfriend, who is also psychic, she was like, I can't come to your house. And she said, your house is like a spirit frat house right now, and I can't even come into your house or connect with it, or I don't even want to think about your house. And he came and he did his best. He tried, he worked through, he helped me with some stuff. But even as he was standing there moving around my house trying to help me, I was knowing that he couldn't. And I was receiving the message that he couldn't because this was for me to learn. This was for me to do. This was all happening for me as an opportunity to learn how to interact with these things. And in retrospect, it's what I had been asking for. I didn't know it's just like the beginning or the awareness that you don't always know what you're asking for. I had been wanting to understand spirit more and build this connection, and here it was, and it was overwhelming, and I just wanted it to stop. But I did have that person who was there, but really it was a lot of isolation and loneliness. And back then, there really wasn't anywhere to Google, or it was really hard to find people and places to connect and to have awarenesses around the communities. To find the communities was really hard. So I was really isolated and alone. And that's one of the reasons why I do what I do now is because I don't want people to feel isolated and alone. Now, what I found is I can't take all of that away. I would love to take all of that away from everybody, but part of that is the journey, right? Part of the journey is you have to forge it alone. But for you to even know that, for me to be able to say to you, hey, part of this journey you're going to have to do alone, but know that you're still supported and we're still here for you, even though you have to do part of this alone, right? That makes a big difference than just not knowing that this is even a part of the journey. So, okay, where was I? Okay, 2009. Yes, the doors sprung open. I was getting messages about past lives. I was having visions. I was hearing like I'm primarily clairaudient, so that really popped off. And I'm going to tell you some of the first messages that I received because they are specifically important for what we're going through right now. So the first messages I received were they were like, we are in spiritual warfare of a fight against light versus dark, but the light is already victorious and has already won. And they said, and this part makes me really uncomfortable. And it's honestly the reason why it took me so long to they had to tell me this in 2009 because it took me like 15 years to become semi okay with this information. And it's I'm being really dramatic, okay? I know that. But it's something within me that really resisted this one little sentence. And I received this during a Reiki session someone was giving me, and I saw it and I rejected it wholeheartedly. They said, "You are a leader. You're a leader of a collective, and you are here to help the collective and to help people through this great awakening." And that I remember in that Reiki session when I received that message and I was crying. I started crying and I said, "No, no, you've got the wrong person, not me. I don't want it. I don't want to do it." I was like, "Not it, not it." I was so scared. The the idea of being in a leadership role for some reason made me very uncomfortable. I think also I felt very egotistical at the time. I felt like it was my ego, like, "Oh, you're a leader of the awakening. Who do you think you are?" I mean, just was really, I had a lot to work through around that. And also, I already was. Simultaneously, there was a group from my grad program who we were friends on Facebook, and they did this little thing where it was like an image of all these different Disney characters, and they would tag people in the different characters with had a word like, friendly or loving or courageous or leader. And they tagged everybody from our class in this image, and they tagged me under leader. Now they knew nothing about this journey that I was on. And I saw this person already saw me as a leader, and I was rejecting this idea wholeheartedly and in fear around it. So I had a long journey of exploring why was this role or this idea something that was so uncomfortable for me when clearly others were already seeing me as this. That was already something I was embodying, even though I was rejecting it. So that was a journey for me. Let's go back to the original message. The original message was, we are in spiritual warfare, light versus dark. The light is already won. And now I want to say this because in the beginning, messages can feel very dramatic. Okay, that sounds very dramatic. And I was like, oh, 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 wait. They said, you are the leader of a group, find your group. That's what they said, right? We're in a spiritual warfare. Light versus dark. The light's victorious. It's already won. You're a leader of a group. You're a part of a group. Find your group. Okay? That was the message. And I was like, "Oh my God, I have to find my group. I have to find my group right now. Who are they? Where are they?" Like I was so urgent. I was like so, and I'm not making fun of anyone or myself. It was just really dramatic. Find the group, find the group, find the group. And at the time, I did. I know 100% I sounded crazy. 100%. The people that I tried to share it with, I was very ungrounded. When you first awaken to a psychic awakening, you are ungrounded. You have to unground a bit to open the doorway, and then you need to ground back down and integrate that expansiveness into your human. So there's a period of time, and this can be all variations of length, where it's very ungrounded. The messages seem very, I mean, very out there. We can sound cuckoo bananas. It's a centering, it's a grounding that needs to happen. So at first, I sounded really out there. I was really intense. I was like, "Oh my God, I have to find a group. I have to find my group. Who are they?" It felt very urgent. The next thing I'll interject in this from this point in time is that Spirit gives you a ton of time. They know how much time you need. Okay. So they're not, when they tell you, and this was another thing they told me once, which I thought was really funny. Um, like, what is you want to know, what is my purpose in this life? What am I going to achieve? Like, that's for an entire lifetime. Sometimes we'll see visions or we'll have connections with ideas of things we need to do or create, or they're like, you should write a book, or you're going to speak in front of people, or you're going to lead a group. That doesn't mean today. Okay? You are on a path to help prepare you for where you're going or where you're going to end up, but that doesn't mean today. I got this message that I was the leader of a group and this awakening, supporting people through their awakening journey in 2009. And it wasn't until 2025 that I would say that group actually showed up. Now, I say that in quotes because I was working towards that, and there were aspects of that group and aspects of that showing up the entire time, but it was always at an appropriate, like, level of comfort and growth for where I was at the time. So, yes, leading up to that, I was a part of multiple different groups and I did take on leadership roles. Some of them had nothing to do with spirituality. Some of them were, I was a director of social work for a while. I was the chair of a co-op preschool for a while. I led retreats for a while. I organized and led a book club for a while, a spiritual book club. So, I mean, there's different things that I did that were all helping me to come into a place of balance and peace and mastery within my own being around the work I was called to do in this lifetime. But from the time that I first received the message to the time when I would say it actually really popped off, which would be in 2025, when I started the Great Awakening Collective, which is a virtual community for awakening souls. I started that. I received the message about that community in 2021 and I spent from 2021 to 2025 thinking, oh my gosh, where is it? I'm failing. I have to do it. I have to create it, trying to create it, not knowing what it was even. I knew I had a sense of it. I did see it, but I couldn't understand how to make it, how to make that happen. And then one day, it just happened without any effort, really. It felt like when it finally showed up, and this is the case with all of these things, like you're going to get a message, and it's not that you're going to take action towards that, but it's also like there's nothing for you to do because when it's time, it's just going to happen. It'll just appear. And it did. And that's happened over and over, where when it was time, it just showed up. And certainly all of the things I did internally and, moving, I was staying focused on moving in that direction. But then I was ready. I was waiting and ready. And then when it arrived, it was the perfect timing. And there was really nothing for me to do. And all of that time leading up made more sense. It was like, oh, I was never in the wrong place. I was never behind. I was just waiting. And I think of this like a trip. If I was going to plan a trip to China, if Spirit said, okay, go to China. Okay, I'm going to go to China. Now, we think when we receive a message about going to China that we're behind, that we should already be there, that we're like, oh gosh, they want me in China. I got to get to China. When in reality, they give you plenty of time. Then they're like, hey, that might mean, hey, why don't you start learning Chinese? Why don't you start researching the food so you know what you can eat there? Why don't you start looking into things around China or how much it would cost, or maybe even just start saving your pennies? This is there's so much to happen before you get to the trip. We don't get a message. You don't get a message like, oh, or think you're going to go to China and then just go to the airport and sit there and wait. You know, you're going to do things to get ready. And maybe you buy a ticket, but you're still going to wait. You still have to wait. The waiting is a part of this, and it's a part of your spiritual journey. It's a part of psychic messages. It just is. So, okay, where was I? Oh my gosh. This is all good. This is all important stuff. All right. Yes, 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 yes. So, my first awakening, it was weird stuff going on. Weird stuff was going on. My house was popping off. I wanted to hide it. I didn't want to tell people about it. It got so crazy that I couldn't help it. I had to talk to my family. I had to. Um, so I did. I mean, ended up having to talk to them because I couldn't hide it anymore because there was weird stuff happening all the time. Okay. What are some of the weird things that happened? I mean, there's so many weird things. There's so many weird things that happened in that window. And it was like now in retrospect, it was a education. They were showing me all of these things in a short period of time so that I could learn rapidly. I could rapidly learn about all of these things. And I didn't have to remain in that indefinitely. I think that's another thing that's really important as you're awakening. Wherever you are, there's something for you to learn in it, whatever you're experiencing, even if it's experiencing nothing, even if you're like, I had an awakening, but now nothing's happening, something is happening in the nothing. There's important there's important things for you to learn in the nothing's happening. Okay? So it's all here for you. As long as you remain open to the path. If you're trying to shut it out and saying I'm not going to participate, I mean, I would say there's still something happening for you in that. But as long as you're remaining open, yeah, because even if you're saying I'm not doing it, it can still, even in the turning it off, there can be learning in that, or there is learning in that. So everything's okay. I guess that's like you're okay wherever you are. All right, so weird psychic, spiritual, ghosty things started happening in my house. Spirits started showing up, and they were needing to go to the light, and I was helping them go to the light. Then weird energies started showing up, and I was like, "You don't belong here. You have to go to the light. You can't be here." So I was immediately setting energetic boundaries with spirit. They would try to interrupt me all the time, and I was like, at first I was always being interrupted, and then I'm like, I can't do this. I have to live my life. So I was setting boundaries with spirit. Um, I kind of call them office hours. Like I would, if I was doing something, I'd be like, "Hey, is this urgent? Because I will call on you later when I have time. I have to make dinner. I have to pack lunches. I have to, whatever I'm doing." So I did that for a while. Um, so many things. There was lots of physical things that showed up in my house, on our television. We just got a new television that Christmas, and the volume bar started, it would like pop up for the volume on the audio, and it would move the volume all the way to zero, and it would leave the bar up. So you couldn't see the bottom part of the screen. You couldn't read any subtitles or any text on the screen. So we couldn't stop it. It wouldn't stop. And so then we started, what did we do? We we had a sound system, so we just went through the sound system, and we still had to have the bar up because the bar would just stay up on the television, but we could at least hear because it didn't do it on the audio, like whatever the audio system was we had. So then we could hear through the audio system. We just still couldn't see the subtitles or any of text on the screen. That happened for a long time. None of the clocks were right in the house ever. And now you could say, okay, maybe it's just that TV. Well, when all the spiritual like stuff stopped, the TV went to normal and it stopped happening. And the clocks went normal and that doesn't happen anymore. So it was a specific period of time in the house where these things happened. We still use that television. We still have the same, electricity. With the clocks, you could say, oh, there's something wrong with your electric and it's messing up the clocks or something. No, we have the same electric that we had then. And um, it doesn't do that anymore. So it wasn't that. And there have been other times over the years when the thing on the television will happen again briefly, um, when there's someone, a message or a spirit or something here that wants to communicate. So it's happened very, very, very infrequently. I would say after that initial period, it's only happened a few, maybe three, four times. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it doesn't happen all the time. And and then it would happen sometimes, the the later times it would happen and we had identified that it was a spirit and we were kind of over it, I would yell at it. There was a period when it was happening a bunch and I would yell at it and I'd say, "Stop it." And it would stop. So I would be like, I would be really kind of over it. Of like, I want to use my television, stop it. And it would stop. And so, I mean, take that for what you want. So I was going through really chaotic psychic awakening, really weird stuff happening. Spirit had told me there was a group. I needed to find the group. And so I was really, really open to that. I did not know what that meant, but I felt it was really important. And my sister went to a conference and there was this guy who was kind of looking at her and she's just like, who's this weird guy looking at me? They started talking later in the day and he's telling her about how he owns this shop with his wife and they do, I don't know what he said, but they did like energy healing and different things and that she should come check it out. And I think he gave her his card or something and she was like, okay, I'm not checking that out. So she comes home and she tells me about this guy who's talking to her and what's the deal? I don't know. This guy has this shop. And I knew I could feel it. And I said, "Oh my God, you have to go see him." She's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Because he's in the group. I can feel it. He's in the group." And she was like, "Oh my God, I don't want to go," but she did. And after the session, um, she, they were talking, and he was like, "Hey, I don't want to be weird. I know I'm not trying to freak you out, but Spirit has told me that there's this group that I'm a part of, and that you're a part of it too." And she was like, "I don't think you're weird because my sister, the reason I'm here is because my sister received a message from Spirit that there's a group that she's in and that I'm in. And she said, you're in the group, and that's why I'm here." And so we immediately met. We were like, oh my gosh, this is absolutely wild. And so we met, and it was so amazing. And he was doing an energy practice called biogenesis that shortly after this, they like the biogenesis group was coming to town, the organizers, to do a free workshop. And so I ended up going, and that energy practice and that energy modality was exactly what I needed at the time to center my energy. And it was the thing that was, there can be all sorts of paths. So I don't want you to think hearing this like, oh my gosh, that's the thing I need. Maybe, but there's so many ways, there's so many things. And this was the thing that was, I needed to be a part of that community and learn that modality. And that was instrumental in the foundation that I needed on this journey in this life. So it's absolutely beautiful. Now, I have told that story before, and I've had people who are like, "Oh my gosh, like this is how like you get into cults, and people say that you're in a group and you belong and stuff." I mean, yeah, and also sometimes you do. So I'm like, I don't know, because sometimes you do just have a knowing. I think there's a difference between someone telling you you're in a group and you having a knowing, you know? So if you feel called to be a part of something, if you're like in a place and you're like, wow, this is something that I feel really is important for me, versus other people telling you this is something that's really important for you. Uh, there's a difference. There's a different energy. And it is hard because there is subtleties with spiritual awakening and then kind of culty mentality and predatory behavior. And you do have to be mindful of that and aware of that. But you want to be holding on to your own discernment about and your own messages of what's here for you versus what other people are telling you you should be or what's here for you in that way, right? So I think the really important thing around a psychic awakening or any kind of awakening, really, but especially psychic awakenings because they are so expansive in the crown and they are sending, you are connecting with energies beyond the physical in such a tangible way, is grounding. Any kind of awakening you're happening, you want to ground yourself. But especially a psychic awakening, you want to be very grounded. This is not about escaping your physical life. Whatever type of awakening you're having, we're not getting rid of our life. You came here for a reason, for a purpose. And being human is the thing. That's why we're here. If you wanted to just be in oneness and be totally a part of everything and not feel any struggle or suffering, you could just stay a part of oneness. You didn't have to physically incarnate for that. So, why are we here? We're here to be human. And the awakening journey is about integrating the expanded awareness of all into integrating that into the separated experience of being human. And there's a real benefit to that. There's a real beautiful journey for that. That is a lovely thing. Um, and that's really creating an entirely new type of human, an entirely new experience. Okay. So we are literally creating a new way of being by integrating our awareness of spirit and our separation in our human form. The other aspect of this, as I said before, is this is about connecting with your inner knowing. This is not about some other person telling you how to connect with God or spirit. I know that I am telling you some stuff right now. So you're like, well, Sarah, you're telling me how to connect, but I'm telling you that you should follow your own knowing and connect. And this is about your journey. I'm sharing my journey so that you can maybe see some elements of that in your own and have some feel the support through your own experience. Um, that this is about you connecting with spirit, you connecting with uh, ideas beyond what we're told here, and expanding your awareness while also anchoring that into your human experience. This isn't about abandoning your life for spirit, it's about having a more full and enriching life in conjunction with spirit, in remembering who you are beyond the programs and the societal belief systems that are here for you. So we can expand kind of beyond our understanding of life within this matrix that we exist in. We can expand that and have this really beautiful interaction being human on earth while also holding an awareness and an understanding of our expanded self and our connection with spirit and the non-physical, right? So this is about integration. I was talking to someone yesterday. We were talking about our first awakening experiences and how we just wanted to get through it. We just were like, let's get through it, let's get through it. And we were pushing and pushing and pushing. And we have this tendency as humans to want to be at the finish, to be at the end, because then we think, oh, that's going to be worth it, right? She said this amazing thing, which is so profound to me. And she said she was watching her GPS as she was traveling, and everywhere she moved, she was always there, right? Like, yes, you're in motion, but you're always here at the center of the screen. And she was saying what did she say? The beginning and the ending are always right now. You're always at the beginning and the ending of this, and you're just in it. There's no end. You are at the beginning and you're at the end every moment. And I was sharing with her that when I first awoke, I had this intention, like I want to move there through, I would kind of call them these lessons that I'd go through. And they'd have different focuses of different things I was working through or learning or experiencing. And I'd say, oh, I want to get through this as swiftly and smoothly as possible. I'm moving through this as swiftly as possible. And over time, I was exhausted. I was so exhausted. And I said to my husband, like, gosh, this doesn't seem to be ending. I don't have any weekends off. I don't have a break. What is going on? I'm so tired. And what I realize now is that I was rushing to a finish line that is never coming because I am in a constant state of expansion and growth and learning. And for all I know, that continues after I'm out of this physical form too. So where am I running to? Where am I rushing to? There's no rush. I realized over time, everything's happening just as it should. And I was kind of rushing away from my own discomfort versus sitting in it, right? I was rushing to try to, oh, I want to get out of this feeling. I want to get out of this experience. So maybe if I heal fast enough, if I do this good enough, then I won't have to feel the discomfort. Well, the discomfort is here for you. And the more you can sit with that discomfort and notice it and say, hey, you're feeling uncomfortable. I see that. I'm here with you. You're not alone. Let's explore what this discomfort is here trying to tell us and show us. That's actually the way to more smoothly move through it. And also that this other person was saying, in retrospect, they couldn't have moved through the challenges they moved through any faster. That they needed all of that space in exactly that way to move through the things that they were moving through on their healing journey. And I feel the same way in retrospect. In the moment, I wanted to be done. I wanted to be over. I thought I was behind. I thought, this isn't right, or I'm off my path. But in retrospect, I can really see every one of those moments were happening for me. And if it's true for me, then it's true for you. And I've heard from a lot of people who have gone through this experience over years who have had that same awareness later on. It doesn't mean you're having it right in the moment. It doesn't mean even in this moment, even with that awareness, that I'm not wanting to be through something. I couldn't have that same feeling of like, oh, I want this part to be over. That's just like, oh, I don't know what to do here. I don't like this feeling. I want this feeling to go away. And sitting with it and being with it and loving it and trusting, oh, right, I am so supported. Everything's happening for me. I can tolerate this. I can be here for me right now. What is this discomfort wanting to show me and tell me? Those are all the things I would do now, right? And know that rushing it is not winning. And sometimes rushing it can be detrimental. It's important to take the time and take space. And you don't want to be so overwhelmed. The way that I started, where I was rushing, 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 if I had continued at that pace, it would have been detrimental to my health, to my life. Uh, I wouldn't have been able to integrate. I really would have eventually crashed out because no one's meant to continue at that speed indefinitely. And once I surrendered, like, oh, this is like not ending. This is just my life. When you decide that you're going to live life awakening, it's a path. It's a path of awakening constantly and reflecting and having new awarenesses, new levels of understanding. So you'll have an awareness. You're like, I got it. I figured it out. And then it comes back around and now it's another awareness deeper that you couldn't have seen without seeing the first one, right? And so you're like, oh my God, now I see this. And then that comes around, and now it's an even deeper awareness that you couldn't have seen without those first two layers. I mean, this is a journey that you're deciding, yes, this has value. To me, not going through the awakening journey is hard. And so when I face hard in the awakening journey, I am thinking, okay, this is hard. And there were plenty of times when I thought, I don't have to do this. I don't have to do this. I could just stop. I could just not be self-reflective and so paying attention and awakening to all these new concepts and breaking free from all of these limiting beliefs. I don't have to do that. I could just not. And it's true, there's a part of me that was feeling like, oh, that sounds lovely, right? What if I just got up, went to work, picked what I wanted for lunch, ate it, went home, watched a show, went to bed with very little self-reflective healing thoughts. And that's not to minimize anyone's experience, but what I realized was I would still be in discomfort because when you're doing that, you're holding. You're not moving through, you're holding. So you're holding fear, you're holding anxiety, you're holding discomfort versus reflecting and healing and shifting in every moment, which is also exhausting, but it's a different kind of tired. It's a different kind of hard. And I personally would, I've decided over and over, prefer the motion of healing versus the stagnation of just accepting everything and not feeling connected with any sort of change or progress or growth. Uh, there are people who fear the change more than they fear the growth. Even when you think you're stagnant, you are growing. Even in those silent moments, like in winter, the season of winter, it looks like nothing's happening, but it's very vital that that season of winter happens so that things are ready to blossom in the spring, right? So if you've decided, I'm going to, and this is a very internal thing, else can know this. It's none of their business. But if you've made that decision within yourself that you're going to do this in this lifetime, then no matter what you're doing, it's going to be integrated. I was talking to someone about this before. They were saying, right, and you know, if you've made that decision, then you just going to work, getting your lunch, coming home and watching a show, through that motion, you're going to be shifting and changing. The messages are going to come through in the show you watch, or a conversation you have at work, or you're going to have the awakening is going to happen wherever you are. There's nowhere you have to go. There's nothing you have to do. If you've made that decision within yourself, it's going to happen naturally. And anything you want to add to it is fine. It's for funsies, but you don't have to do anything. You can just be, and it's going to naturally happen. Okay? I think that's really important too. There's nothing for you to do. If you have the intention to heal, to shift, to not do it the way that other people have been doing it, to have freedom from the limitations that you're witnessing around you and the fears that others are holding around you. If you say, I don't want to hold that, I don't want to be in that state, I don't want to have this be all that there is forever, you are opening up to this journey. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad because as challenging as it is, I 100% believe it is worth it. Going through this journey has been weird and challenging and magnificent, transformative. And my relationships, as much as over the years it felt like I was dying or losing myself, or, you know, how could I possibly even expand in this way or shift that? As much as that was true, I didn't lose myself. I actually found myself more and more and more. I came more into my own knowing, into my own being in ways that I never could have even anticipated. I am not the person that I intended to be because I didn't know I could be this version of me. I didn't know how to be them. But through surrendering and letting go and just connecting with spirit and expansion, I am more myself than I've ever been. My relationships, my life is more wonderful, even without any sort of external change. My internal world has completely transformed my life because it also becomes less about the external. It becomes more about your own internal experience. And then no one can take that away from you because that's you. That's your inner world is, you know, pretty magnificent. And others can't take that away from you as much as they can take things in the external. This has been a lot. If you're still here, thank you. Thank you for being here with me. I didn't anticipate saying all of this today. I just thought, oh, I'll just share my initial journey and how maybe kick us off in a discussion about awakening and the ways that this has impacted my life. I'm going to be here sharing stories about my awakening, trying to offer support for those who are awakening, and um, the things that I've learned along the way. There was a long time when I thought, gosh, like Spirit kept saying, they're coming, people are coming, the awakening's happening, wait, wait, wait. And I'll tell you, I was like, really? Are they? Where? Where are they coming? When are they coming? And Spirit kept saying, soon, 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 they're coming, they're coming. Now, if a spirit tells you, any sort of spirit message tells you soon, just know they have no concept of time. Okay. So if I tell you something's coming soon, I mean like in the next week or month. If Spirit tells you something's happening soon, that could be in like the next 50 years. So, like, let's just get that out of the way. Now, luckily, it was only like 15 years that I had to wait, but still that felt like a very long time, and I'm really glad that I did. I'm really glad that I kept listening and kept waiting and preparing and being ready so that now I can be here and offer support to those who are going through this experience. And my hope for you is that you don't have to feel as alone as those of us did who went through this years ago. Um, so, I created a community called Great Awakening Collective, and I'd love you to join if you're not already there. It's on Mighty Networks. I'll add the link in the description so you can join. You can just join on a browser or also download the Mighty Networks app and join the community. And there we are having amazing discussions with people who are on their awakening journey. We have live events, Zooms, connection circles, guest speakers. We talk about topics. We did a dowsing course recently. We have, and all the replays are there. Other community members, you could find them in your area. You can find people who want to talk about a topic that you're really curious about. It's a really amazing community connection hub for people on their awakening journey. So I hope to see you there. I'm sending you so much love.